the thing I recommend you do is listen very carefully, because your tone is really in your fingers. It's not so much a product of the amp or the effects and stuff that you're using. It's the product of what you're hearing in your head. To actually find that sweet spot. And if you see I'm turning the pick, you can hear different tones. So I look for that tone that sounds good to you. But what I'm listening for is for every note to come out clean. And if you try to play too fast and you screw it up, slow down, because you'll sound bad when you start playing fast for the rest of your life. So the ticket is play slow and perfect and make it sound good slow. And that's how you become, it's one of the ways of becoming a virtuoso. So you start really slow and clean and perfect, and then you slowly get faster. Now that's, if you're interested in doing this kind of thing. The guitar or any instrument is a personal expression, and it's all good. It is really all good. And even if you're just playing those few chords, because it's subjective in the sense that the listener is the one that's judging, and you're the one that's judging. And there's something to go around for everybody. And it's about finding your audience. You're only going to be really good at what's natural to you and you're most excited at. So if you think that you have to go play another kind of music like pop music or something and that it's a sellout, well, I got news for you. There's people who play pop music and are really good at it because that's what they really like. And you're competing with them, and don't compete with them, compete with yourself. And if you love pop music, great. I like it, but I prefer what I do. So when you find what it is that you like, keep it in the forefront of what you're doing, and that's going to give you your best success. The reason why I play the way I play and sound the way I sound is because that's all I ever thought about my whole life. And that's what was important to me. And it's an ongoing evolution. The best thing I would tell you is to try to find those unique things in your playing that you haven't heard, and then exaggerate them. That's what I do. I find my strengths and I exaggerate them. I don't focus on my weaknesses, not at all. I only focus on my strengths. Within my strengths, there's weaknesses.
There's no substitute for practicing, and students have to be completely honest with themselves about what they don't know, and that they have to get on track and start learning it. So if the student has to sit down and ask themselves, do I actually know the name of every note on my guitar? And if the answer is no, then now they've just been told what to do. So item number one, learn every note on the guitar. You don't have to learn it by today, but do something where every day you get better and better at learning every note on every string. The next thing, you say, do I know all the chords? If you don't, well then what are you going to do about it? Do you know all the scales? If the answer is no, well then what are you going to do about it? And so it's really quite obvious. We just have to be very straightforward with ourselves, and that's how we arrange our practicing. But I would say that I remind students all the time that they will not have a career based on the demonstration of practice techniques, which means no one will buy a ticket to see Joe Satriani practice guitar. They want to see me play the guitar. They want to hear music. So the ultimate goal is playing music, being evocative, lifting people's spirits, being an entertainer. It's all part of it. The practicing is supposed to help you do that. So don't get too hung up on doing that scale faster and faster and faster. Don't spend 6 hours playing scales, with a metronome. I think that's completely useless. If you want to put more than an hour in, I would say, how about 45 minutes doing that stuff? The rest of the time, if you're lucky enough to spend practicing, how about writing music? How about working with sound? How about playing with your friends who are also maybe at the same stage as you? Seek out some other teachers. Figure out a way to play with people who are better than you are. Figure out how to entertain your little sister's kindergarten class. See if you can get a gig at the local school. See if you can get a gig at a club. You know what I mean? Just find out what it's like to play for human beings. Because that's what, I don't want to reduce it to a job, but I mean, that's what a musician does. Society wants musicians to make music for them. So, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So if you're practicing and it's not helping you do that, well, then you're not practicing right.
Well, the pattern I use quite a lot is, of course, which you could do. Nice. You could do it up as well, just which is a little more tricky. Yeah. But then you can get a little more elaborate with it, where you do sort of the same pattern, but you alternate. So it's like same thing up. That's a little bit Bach as well. Yeah, yeah. So I'm fucking so jet lagged, man. But it's on new record. Something goes. And it starts and goes to E flat. That's one thing you can do, like, which is. Go on forever. Yeah, yeah. Or you can do it with open strings.
I love this guitar. It's called an F1 because it's like a Formula One, really fast and easy to drive. And this particular version is part of the Ball Family Reserve series. So I guess technically it's a John Petrucci F1 BFR. And of course, all my guitars since the beginning have always had DiMarzio pickups. I'm a big fan of humbuckers, no middle pickup, no mounting rings, all because of technical reasons. The great thing about DiMarzio, and it's the same with Music Man, all you guys are so into promoting the art and experimenting and stuff, so you don't know how many times we've swapped out pickups and had discussions and changed things. You know, I always call it trying things in the heat of battle. The only way to truly tell is when you have the guitar and you're playing live, you can kind of hear the interaction of all the elements, or when you're in the studio and things are mic'd up and you can get more details. With this guitar, on the previous album, this was only a prototype, and you know, since then the guitar came into production and I toured with it for a year, so I'm really comfortable and familiar with the sound of it now. So if we make a pickup change or experiment with any other element, even a cable, I know where it's coming from and how it changes. My favorite guitar player of all time is Steve Morse. From learning early on, like the dregs type of stuff, I sort of realized at an early stage that sort of practicing with a metronome, using that alternate picking technique is really the only way to get that powerful control. However, having said that, there are a lot of great guitar players that have such beautiful technique that doesn't involve that, you know, that's more legato. Or that's uses, you know, economy or sweep picking, and so I try to use all of it, but I think my strength is more in the alternate picking style. You know, I like to have sort of a fulcrum point here, and that's why I like not having the mounting ring, and the pickup is really sort of my gauge as to where my hand is. I saw Steve Morse clinic when I was going to Berkeley, and I remember him doing something where he was doing like that, using the alternate picking, just one note on a string, and I swear I still remember what he played. And then also, you know, listening to and watching Paul Gilbert and Steve Vai and guys that incorporate both styles, combining hammer-ons and legato playing with alternate picking as well. It's a combination of techniques, and basically all you have to do is take a lick that maybe you were practicing alternate picking and then just apply where you can some sort of hammer-on or pull-off to make it work. So, you know, you might be doing something like this, for example. So that's the difference there. So the first way is all alternate. Second way, you add in a little pull-off. And if you kind of mute the strings a little bit, it's very a la Paul Gilbert. You hear this sort of whipping.